And now, can I show you presentation?
Yes, ma'am.
Right?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am,
Yes.
can you please share your presentations also on Telegram group so that it will be easy for us to understand while reading and all?
Sure, because this matter that I have taken for Midnight Children is from Spark Notes. I thought it would be
Yeah,
better if
ma'am.
you could go to Spark Notes because there you will be getting summary, chapter wise summary as well.
Okay, okay, ma'am. Okay.
Okay, so I can do this if you want. I can share these
Yes.
notes. This I will be doing today, not slides, but the entire matter as material as PDF. I would be sending it on Telegram.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
but then at the same time, I would like that you should go to Spark Notes also, because in
Okay.
Spark Notes, I have selected only a part of it. But when you go there, you
Hmm.
will get the entire material and you will get
It
chapter
will be
wise summary
detailed,
as
sir.
well. Yeah, all the details you would be getting there. I have just picked the things for the class from there.
Okay.
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 So I would much appreciate if you go to sparknotes.com for Midnight Children. And once you visit that site, you will see that lot of material from your syllabus is already present there. And that will help. I have picked that material because I think the language is not too complicated and it's not too easy. It's of the MA level that is expected out of MA students. And at the same time, if I explain it here in the class, then the material is going to be simplified. And then you can prepare your answers from that. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, straight we go to the presentation, right? Okay. Here it is. Yeah. This is all that we had done. First part. The second we had to do today. The unreliability of memory and narrative. See the terms. Reliable, that we can depend on, we can believe in. Unreliable, that we cannot believe in, that keeps on changing, it's not constant, right? So unreliability of memory and unreliability of narrative. According to Salman Rushdie and according to all other, I think someone has unmuted the mic, so please mute your mics. Who is it? Yeah, okay. So, unreliability of memory. We cannot depend on our memory. This is not only Salman Rushdie saying or other postmodernists saying, also psychologists say that we cannot depend on our memory because memory is always selective. Brain selects only those things which brain wants, and then that memory keeps on changing also with the passage of time, with the changing of our circumstances. Something that we liked from past, after 5 years we may not like it, and then we change our memories according to that. So human memory is not reliable. We cannot believe in human memory, we cannot depend on human memory. And then unreliability of narrative. Narrative means whatever we tell other people. If someone, see, suppose there is some incident we have seen. Okay, suppose I just stop some for a meanwhile. Yeah, presentation stopped, na?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So these are the two terms: memory and second that was narrative. So suppose there is some incident that two persons saw witnessed at the same time. Okay. Now, if a third person asks that what have you witnessed, what did you see? The answer of these two persons is going to be different. Suppose just take a simple case of road accident. Two persons witnessed the road accident, and when the third person who was not present at that scene at that particular time, if he asks these two people to narrate what had happened, both will narrate the story and there will be difference in the narration. Have you ever noticed this? What I witnessed may not be witnessed by you, and what you witnessed was not witnessed by me. Our versions of these two our narratives are going to be different. You have some other story to present, I have some other story, and both are correct. It is what we saw. So that is unreliability of narrative. This is how postmodern literature challenges history. They say that we cannot believe in history. These all books of history, whatever has been documented by one person, right? And what he witnessed may not have been witnessed by others. They would have had some other story to tell, but they didn't get their books published. They didn't get their work documented, right? So in this way, postmodern literature challenges everything that is there in the past as well as in the present. Okay, so that is what unreliability of narrative is. In the similar way, unreliability of memory. What I witnessed in that road accident and what you witnessed and what you remember and what I remember is going to be different. So if someone is asking me what happened, I'll tell something, and after say half an hour or 1 hour, again if that same person is going to ask me that same question, my answer may vary. Because again, now my memory, I have played with my memory, my brain has played with my memory. And maybe I remember some parts which I didn't remember at that time, and now I've forgotten some parts which I remember at that time. So unreliability of memory and narrative, this is the second major theme of Midnight's Children. Got it? So here, what we see in this unreliability of memory, factual errors. I hope you can see the slide.
No, ma'am.
It's not visible?
No, no.
Okay, it will be very soon. Just wait. Yeah. Yeah, it's visible now. Huh? So factual errors and dubious claims are essential aspects of Salim's fantastic narrative. Salim has his own narrative. He's telling his life story. Telling story is called narrative. When you narrate something, what happened now, what happened next and next and next, or in past, that is all narrative. So Salim's narrative of his own life story is fantastic. Okay, but what are the two main elements of this narrative? Factual errors. Errors in facts. The facts are not all correct. And whatever claims that he is making are dubious. They are doubtful. Dubious is doubtful. So factual errors, errors in the facts, figures, and the claims that he is making, they are all doubtful. We cannot rely on Salim's narrative, unreliability of narrative. And he himself is acknowledging that he misplaced Gandhi's death. Gandhi's death was a very important, very significant historical moment. But then what is happening, that in this story of Salim, he has misplaced Gandhi's death. He has changed Gandhi's death, which was a seminal moment, very important moment. As well as willfully misremembers the date of election. The election when it is taking place, that also he has given wrong. Factual error. So factual error is there, and so whatever claims he makes about India's history, that is also dubious. He frets over the accuracy of his story. Frets means uh, not stable, every time changing very fast. So he frets over the accuracy of his story. He himself is changing the story. Unreliability of memory. And worries about the future errors he might make. And he says that not only errors that I am making now, but in future also I may make similar errors. My story is not reliable. Yet at the same time, after acknowledging his error, he decides to maintain his version of events. He says, okay, I will maintain this version, and my story is not going to change. My version is going to remain same. Since that's how they appeared to occur to him, and now there can be no going back. It is just like in court, witness says something, and when some other date the same witness goes there, he changes the story. So what he does, that he may not change, he just memorizes this story, and he will mechanically go on saying what has occurred, series of events in the same way, in order to not change his statement in court. This is what Salim is also doing. He says that I will not change. Who is Ronak Gupta in our class? Do you know Ronak Gupta?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. Just take care that the members that you see, attendees in a class, since we have not got IDs, so just take care of the security also of the system. That if you find any fake name or something, just tell me. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So factual errors and dubious claims, they are the essential element of Salim's fantastic narrative. He says that he has misplaced Gandhi's death. He says that he does not remember the date of election. Then he says that in future also he may make mistakes, similar mistakes of forgetting the things. And then he says that he will try to maintain his version of events. He will not change. He will try to remember it and give them as facts. So despite its potential historical inaccuracies, Salim sees story as being of equal importance. He says, my story is as important as history of the country, history of India. Whatever has been documented, that is important, but of same importance is my own story with its changed dates and incidents, everything. Because to me, this is the truth. And he says, my story is the world's most important religious text to me. So he says that my story is not only my story, it's the story of India. So there are errors in his story. His story is doubtful. And this points to one of the novel's essential claims that truth is not just a matter of verifiable facts. See, what we think, what is definition of truth? In general, now I'm not talking about novel. In general, what is truth? We human beings, we believe truth is what that can be verified, that has proof. If you have proof, this is what coach also does. If you have proof, then that is truth. And if you cannot prove something, it is not truth. So Salim says, this is not the definition of truth. This is not what truth is. Truth is not a mere collection of facts that can be verified to make the claim. Okay, truth is always doubtful. So what he's doing, he's casting a shadow of clouds of doubt over truth. He says, what is historical truth? It is our perspective, how we look at the truth. So if truth depends on perspective of a person, then that means that there can be no single truth. There is multiplicity in truths. There are many truths. And willingness to believe. Can we believe on, put our belief in that thing? If we put our belief, then it becomes truth. If we do not put our belief, it is not truth. Just for example, say, who has seen God? Do you have proof? Is it a verifiable thing? No. So does it mean that there's no truth in it? That's on our perspective. That's if we put our faith in it, then we say, okay, fine, this is truth. Similar is the thing with the historical facts. Salim notes that memory creates its own truth. This again is a fact that even psychologists say. That what is truth, whatever we keep in our memory, and whatever we keep in our memory, we keep on fabricating it, we keep on changing it, we keep on manipulating it according to our convenience. So when we keep on creating memories, we keep on creating truth in our brain, and then we store it as memory. That means it is not reliable, it is changeable. And same is the case with the narratives. So all the religious texts of the world, all the history books of the world, they all say that they are telling the truth. But they are not supported by facts. They are supported, of course, there are some facts that they do give, but also because they have been codified. एक ही बात को अगर आप बार बार बोलेंगे तो वो सच बन जाएगी. It's this is why I compared it with the witnesses in court. उनको रटा दो कि कोर्ट में जाके ये बोलना है. 100 बार पूछोगे, सोच के नहीं बोल रहे हैं, जो उन्होंने रटा है वो बोल रहे हैं. So when you keep on repeating same facts or same claims again and again, then they become truth. But then, is that truth reliable? That is their version. It is supported by facts because you have prepared facts. Then these facts, they are codified. They are accepted by time or faith. Was this clear to you?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Is there any doubt in any sentence?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Okay. Now we move further. Now the version of history Salim offers comes filtered through his perspective. That is why his history is also not reliable. Just like all the histories of the world, which are not reliable because they are from some particular perspective. History is from perspective, truth is from perspective, faith is from our perspective. So we cannot rely on all these things. Okay. For Salim, his version is true as anything that is written or documented in the world, because he believes in his own version. This is what postmodernism is. Now the third major theme is destruction versus creation. That is why one of the characters known as Shiva, who stands for destruction and then transformation. In order to create something, you need to destroy something. So destruction versus creation is the next main theme of the novel. In the novel, we find battle between Salim and Shiva, which reflects the ancient mythological battle between the creative and destructive forces in the world. The enemy feeling or the tension between Salim and Shiva, they begin at the time of their birth itself, when they are switched. Rich going into poor family, poor coming into rich family, Hindu going into Muslim family, Muslim coming into Hindu family. Right? So this enmity is there and tension as they are growing together. Again, there are a lot of fights that take place between these two boys. Shiva is a god for both destruction and procreation, birth. right? And there is always these two forces, destruction and procreation. They are both always in conflict with each other. There is always tension between destruction and creation. So they are inextricably bound nature. It's their nature that they are bound together, these two forces. Salim creates the world. As we see, everywhere he goes on creating. So Salim, in a way, if you see through Hindu mythology, Salim represents Brahma, god of creation. And what is Salim creating here? He is creating a story. He is creating history. Okay. By delivering Salim into the hands of the widow, Vanita, Salim is responsible for destruction of Midnight's children. And yet, by fathering Adam and hundreds of other children, he ensures the continuation of their legacy. That means life continues, procreation continues. So Shiva is both destroyer and he is procreator. Salim again is a creator. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Now we are moving to the second part. This we cannot complete today, but I'll just begin and leave it in between and we'll continue in the next class. There are different motifs, various symbols in this novel. So what are the various motifs in the novel and what do they stand for? Okay, this is what we had to discuss today, but this will be continued in our next class also. What do you mean by motive? And what are the motives in Midnight Children? Now see, a snake charmer comes when Salim has gone to Bangladesh. At that time, again, it was divided and it became Pakistan. So Salim goes to Pakistan, and there he lives among snake charmers. Now, snake charmers save his life. He was about to die in childhood, and it is snake charmer who saves his snake venom that saves his life. So snakes play ambiguous and complicated role in the novel. Ambiguous, not sure about. Sometimes it appears to be constructive role and sometimes it appears to be destructive role. So it becomes complicated. When Salim is a young boy, his favorite game is snake and ladders. And here in this snake and ladders, what Salim has learned, he has learned about what is good and what is evil. He says that whenever you move in life upwards, surely at some time or other you will come down. And for every down there is up. Snake, they bring you down. Ladders, they move you up. And this up and down is a norm of life. But then when he sees real life, he comes out of his game. He finds that there is ambiguity. This is not always true. He says that good and evil, they are the natural part of life. It is not that you do something so good happens and if you don't do something then evil happens. It is not like that. Good and evil will come in life. In that game, snakes represent evil. They always bring you down. But in real life, what is happening? That snakes give life to Salim. When he is about to die, he is treated with snake venom. So we cannot say always that snakes are evil. Even snakes can be life givers. So that simple game of snakes and ladder does not teach us. In snakes and ladder, it is always that snakes end life. But in real life, you cannot say that snakes are evil. They can be evil, they can be good. It's complicated. Similarly, in life, everything is complicated. You cannot simplify the facts of life. It is same venom that can kill also. And the same venom saves life. Venom has a power to kill, and at the same time, it has ability to bring life. And this happens twice in the 2 times snake venom saves life. Now you know that Shiva, God Shiva, he wears snake around his neck. And it is said that Lord Shiva has stored venom, he has stopped venom in his neck, in his throat. He did not let venom go down into his body, but he had to save the world. So he stopped venom in his neck. He drank it. No other god was willing to drink snake venom in order to save the world. But Lord Shiva, he came forward and he said that I'll drink this venom, which मैं पीता हूँ और इसको अपने गले में रोकता हूँ. So in this way, Lord Shiva becomes destroyer also, because he can destroy through his dance. That is, a dance stands for creation, but Shiva's dance can even destroy the world. And he is procreator also, because he gave life to the world. There is a character in the novel Picture Singh, who is Salim's closest friend. And he works with snakes, and so his career's ups and downs, they come through snakes. Though this was not important, but I kept this point here. If you want, you can keep it, you can remove it if the answer is very lengthy. Okay. This was the one motive. Then there are 2 more motives that we would be doing in our next class. So here.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So if you have any doubt here.
I did not get one line, this one that you said, no, Shiva's dance can also destroy the world.
Yeah. What is Tandav? If Shiva comes, okay. Got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Shiva's dance can destroy the world, because if he comes in full force and he dances, gods come to him to pray him that he should stop dancing, because the whole world is shivering, it's shuddering.
Yes, ma'am.
It will be destroyed. So Shiva, Lord Shiva in Hindu mythology stands for 2 opposites. Right? He is the one who is the destroyer, he is the one who creates. Right? Any other doubt that you have?
No, ma'am.
I think you have to read this again and again material, whatever you can have on Midnight Children. And then one day, in fact, we can keep for our doubt clearance also.
Yes, ma'am.
All right?
Yes,
So
ma'am.
we can leave the class now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay then, bye.
Yes, ma'am.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Most welcome.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Most welcome.